Hey
I
guys,
know.
we have
Yeah.
a couple questions in the chat.
Okay, shoot.
We have one from a deer. Any off the top of your head NGINX enterprise use cases?
I mean,
We have many. Well, go ahead, Alessandro, and then I'll follow up.
say like I don't. When I tell people about NGINX Plus and what it goes insofar as enterprise use cases, what I always tell people is that for the most part, the actual use cases they were going to be able to solve with NGINX Plus are the same ones they were going to be able to solve with NGINX open source. The difference is that enterprise adds and NGINX Plus, which is the enterprise version, adds extra enterprise level features that you might want, such as you have passive health checks with NGINX, you have active health checks with NGINX. You have support for better caching. You have a built-in REST API if you use NGINX Plus. You have what else? You have like native JOT support, which lets you add an extra layer of security to NGINX. You have a built-in key value store, so you might be some of these things that NGINX Plus adds. Are things that you'd be able to solve also using some other open source tool instead of using NGINX Plus. Key value stores. There's 1,000 different open source offerings that are solid and consolidated out there that will act as a key value store. But there are some benefits in having everything built in natively within the same, software, and also just the fact that NGINX is built on pure C, and that includes a lot of its offerings, which in a lot of ways adds a lot of performance and stability to it compared to some other tools that might be built using, Python, Golang. I was gonna say Razorus is not that bad performance-wise compared to pure C, but there are so many languages out there. I mean, even like some tools are built in JavaScript and whatnot, which not the most performant. It's not that they're not performant, except for Python. Python is probably never that performant in all use cases, but other languages are there. Or it's not that they're not that performant; it's that when you're gonna be trying to build an application that's supposed to fit an enterprise use cases and huge quantities of people, every tiny little bit of speed that you can get out of your software is actually going to have quite a big impact when you're serving 1,000 different people at the same time. So, it's good that it's doing it in C, I guess. It's what I actually wanted to say.
Yeah. So I agree with many of those points, and I'm a big fan of the journey story, right? So, I recently published an article on the CNCF where I compared Subway and McDonald's to Kubernetes, which is kind of my interest space. That's the technology that I focus on with NGINX. And when you talk about building technologies, everybody refers to it as a stack, right? It's a stack of technologies. And as you can, as anybody who's ever played the game Jenga before, you'll see stacks can be fun, but they can also fall over. Right. So the more you have to work on integrated technologies and you need certain libraries to do certain things, it becomes more complicated. So minimizing the number of solutions in a stack is actually beneficial to the overall application health and the ecosystem health and the infrastructure health and so on and so forth. To answer the question directly, absolutely, there are many, many, many interesting NGINX enterprise use cases. In fact, there was a gentleman on the call who, just as a quick teaser, at some point in time, he'll probably join us at KubeCon, but you might see him in the future. And I say might because I don't want to make a commitment on his behalf. You might see him in the future, and he has some very interesting stories about enterprise use cases. That being said, I agree with also that you can solve things in many ways, but I also like the idea of the zero to hero journey story. Right? You start off with nothing. You minimal set of tools, minimal investment in time, energy, money, resources, so on and so forth. In order to be able to do that, you need to be able to move up the stack with some level of fluency, right? And part of that means, like, if you want to go, so I'll just take a Kubernetes use case. If you're using our Ingress controller and you put it in place as the open source version on something like Rancher or Kubernetes, or just Kubernetes in general, the upgrade path is much easier to go over the top, because you could just do a Helm upgrade, right? And so there are benefits. Plus, you will reach a point where, and this is the problem that everybody wants to have, where you build an application, it gets wildly popular, and then you're in hair on fire, oh my god mode, because you now have 1,000 million people trying to access your application, and you need to know that the technologies that are underneath it are good, solid technologies. And the good thing about NGINX, both open source and plus, they're foundational technologies that are rock solid, super fast, and ultra lightweight. Not to sound like I'm, doing a marketing shill here, but I'm not going to spit anything at you that's not the truth. So that you can count on that.
So just to add a little bit, I've put a couple links in the chat. NGINX open source versus plus. We have some great documentation there on the nginx.com website, and I also linked to Dylan's CNCF article, where you can watch, where you can read about that example.